Hi, I'm Sarah Westover McKenna. I blog at Bombshell Bling, and I am also an Usborne Books and More consultant. I used to be an elementary school and teacher, and these were my very favorite books to use in my classroom, and now as a mom, they're still my favorite. My favorite Usborne books by far are the nonfiction books, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. I had a lot of reluctant readers in my classroom, particularly male, and my third grade boys, they loved these nonfiction books. They have such cool pictures and illustrations and interesting facts that even my most reluctant readers would choose these every time. Let's start with my number one favorite, See Inside Your Body. It has flaps. My husband is in training to be a doctor, and he and my son like to look at this together and talk about the human body. Really good information, but presented in a really fun and accessible way for kids. Open the valves, find out little secrets about the heart. Where is that? Oh, there it is. It's a super cool book. Lots of information. My 3-year-old loves flipping through it. My 6-year-old loves learning from it. Okay, here is an example of the first illustrated dictionaries. Okay, so on the move, bones, joints, limbs, in a very elementary, accessible way. Then we move up to an older version of what is science all about. Much more detail, still beautifully illustrated and in a very interesting layout. Super awesome resource. These would be perfect for homeschooling. I'm not a homeschooler, but I've seen that it's a lot of homeschool curriculums are tied in with Usborne Books and are recommended by Usborne Books. Here's a basic, there's a whole series of early reader animal ones. They're very cool, very fun, very accessible. Here is an example of the early encyclopedias, okay? First Encyclopedia of Seas and Oceans. Still a ton of information, okay? My 6-year-old couldn't read this on his own, but he loves when we read it together, and later he will be able to. Here's an example of the grown-up encyclopedia, the Usborne Encyclopedia of World History. Okay, animals of the Ice Age. Gorgeously illustrated, tons of information. The people of early China. These are seriously so awesome. A lot of bang for your buck. But I do have the Lift the Flap. This is the Lift the Flap of general knowledge, okay? Did you know pavlova is a dessert named after a Russian ballet dancer called Anna Pavlova? Was first made in the 1920s. Flip it open. The Margherita pizza is said to be named after the Italian Queen Marguerite of Savoy around 1889. Just all sorts of fascinating things. Did you know? Things about the world, things about animals, and there's all these little, this one's all about snakes. More information about snakes on the inside. Such a cool book. There's a whole series of those. They're awesome. Oh, speaking of which, Usborne Lift the Flap art. Okay, this is a great way to introduce kids to classical art, like this sculpture of the Little Dancer by Degas, and then it shows his sketch that led to that. Here is Mona Lisa, and it shows a close-up and talks about her smile. Okay, so this is a great way to introduce kids to art and make it interesting. This is my very favorite series of nonfiction books. The Big Book of Big. We have Big Bugs, the Big Book of Big Bugs, the Big Book of Big Monsters, the Big Book of Big Sea Creatures, and the Big Book of Big Animals. And I want the rest of them, especially the Big Book of Space. Beautifully illustrated, super sturdy. Some of the pages fold out into these magnificently long, big pages. Ooh, I folded that wrong. These are super awesome. Kids love them because they're big. Lastly, I want to throw in the sticker books. I know that's not technically a nonfiction book or what you would think of as a nonfiction book, but they're awesome. Some of them are just princesses and ballerinas, but some of them are things like this, costumes from around the world. So you learn about all these different cultures. Venice Carnival, Flower Festival, Chinese New Year. Okay, so there's the page of the Chinese New Year. This is page 6. So I'm going to find the stickers for page 6. Aha! All the traditional clothing for the Chinese New Year. So you can go through and put on all the traditional clothing on the appropriate pages. And then when you take out this empty sticker pages, there's still writing that teaches you about the festival and the costumes and the place. So you can use that as a book. My kids love them.